days. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, Madhavatiti Bhakati Janani, that these days are especially dear to Lord Madhav, to Krishna. And Bhakati Janami means that if you participate, these days really give birth, Bhakati Janani, they give birth to Bhakti. And Bhakti is really the only thing that is lacking in this world. We tend to think that we are not fully satisfied because of this problem and that problem and this problem and that problem. And if only we move this to there, or push that out of the way, or move this a little bit closer, then we'll be happy. But actually, the only lack in this world is bhakti, an awakening of our relationship with Krishna. We act practically in this world, but we should know that this is really the fact. And what will we have when it's time for us to leave this world? What will be ours? What will we take with us? What is truly ours? What is truly ours is truly valuable. So on these days, the opportunity to awaken bhakti is flowing. There's some special kindness, some mercy, some kripa that descends from Krishna to those souls who have even a little bit of eagerness to get it. So, if you have a little bit of eagerness to take a step closer to Krishna, then just take a moment and offer a sincere prayer to Prabhupada, to Guru, to Vaishnavas, to Krishna, to the holy Dham of Vrindavan, or Sridham Mayapur, or Jagannath Puri. Just offer a sincere prayer that you will make, that He will allow you to make make our attempt to take a step forward towards Him successful, and may He reciprocate with that. Srila Prabhupada once told us that if we take one step towards Krishna, He will take 10, at least, towards us. So today is a day. So right now we'll be hearing about the birth of Lord Krishna, and what should we bring to this katha? We should bring our ears, an open mind, and an open heart. So that can be achieved by the mercy of Krishna. So pray that He will give us the ability to hear about Krishna with a focused mind, and may He bless us by this hearing. Actually, it will be described a little bit later on that the process of getting closer to Krishna, the process that allows us to become free from the miseries of the material world, from the difficulties of the material world, to go beyond them, to transcend them, to be free from them. That process, the path of the great teachers, of the acharyas, is one of being able to meditate on Krishna's lotus feet through the process of hearing about Krishna and chanting about Krishna. If our mind can somehow become absorbed in hearing about Krishna and chanting Krishna's holy names, then that door to Krishna becomes open. Abhinatvam namanamano. The door to Krishna becomes open for us to walk through. So let us try. So in the first chapter of the 10th canto of the Bhagavatam, the actual katha of Krishna, directly of Krishna, it begins. And in this chapter, it begins with difficulties. It begins with difficulty. Usually, who in this world wants difficulty to occur? But who in this world can cause difficulty to not occur? Where is this from? Srila Prabhupada? Thank you. No one wants difficulty, but difficulties always come. They must come. It is the very nature of the material world. Dukkalayama shashvatama nityama sukham lokam. And the art of living in this world is to turn difficulty, turn something negative into something positive. That is the art of living, the true art of living. If difficulties can somehow help out taking shelter of Krishna, then those difficulties, even though we don't like to see them like this and we don't want them to come, they become the greatest blessing for us. They become the greatest source of happiness. They become our wealth. So at one point in the history of this earth, there was a great building up of demonic forces, of evil forces, of ignorant forces in this world. And when that happened, Bhumi Devi, who is like the president of the earth itself, Bhumi Devi, she took the form of a cow. Because cow, unless we are so hard-hearted, cows are so innocent. And if you've been around cows, they immediately, the mind becomes soothed. And they give milk. They turn grass to milk. And we don't eat grass, but we drink milk. And one can live on milk alone. So they're such innocent animals. And Krishna is especially fond of cows. Namo Brahmanya Devaya Go Brahmani Hitaya Cha. So Bhumi Devi, the presiding deity of the earth, took the form of a cow and went to Lord Brahma to express her pain that the earth was being overburdened with demonic forces. When all the explosions occur on the earth, when the deep drilling of wells, this is disturbing to the earth. So Bhumi Devi went to Lord Brahma and she asked for help, and together she and Brahma and the other devatas, the other demigods, went to the ocean of milk, and Brahma began to request Krishna to help through prayer, and no one heard any response. Sometimes when we're in difficulty and we ask Krishna for help, we don't get the response that we immediately want. But Krishna is actually the best of doctors. He knows how to prescribe for the exact issue, disease that is prohibiting our advancement, our life, our true life. So Brahma sat down in meditation, and Krishna directly spoke to him. And Brahma then announced to all the devatas that Krishna was aware of the difficulties that the earth was going through. And that he, Bhagavan Purusha, the Supreme Person, he himself would appear in this world. And he instructed the devatas, the demigods, that they should also appear. They should take their births as the sons and the grandsons of the Yadu dynasty. And also the Surastriya, the wives of the demigods, they should also appear. And Brahma informed the devatas that also not only would Krishna appear, but Lord Baladev, Balabhadra, Balaram, Sankarshan would also appear to assist Krishna in his pastimes. Balaram is the first and practically speaking the only expansion of Krishna. And also Yogamaya herself, the potency of the Lord, would also appear to act for Krishna's satisfaction. These topics can be spoken of for weeks and weeks and weeks, and I shall try to move quite quickly. So then, after Brahma spoke on behalf of the Supreme Lord, all the devatas went to their home. And the next part of the pastime begins at the wedding of Vasudeva, a great soul, and his wife, just married wife, whose name was Devaki. And they were on a chariot because he was of the royal order. Vasudeva was of the royal order. Perhaps we can make this, let's go down a little bit because it's making some extraordinary sounds. So they were on a chariot coming from the father's home where the marriage took place, going to the home of their new home, the home of the wife's home, to the home of Vasudeva, the groom. And the system was, and I've seen this also, one time, I saw one young lady, a girl, get married, and she got in the car with her family, and she was just crying with her new family, having to leave her old family, and she was crying and crying and crying and crying, and the car left, and she was crying and crying and crying, and the car came back, and she got out and hugged her mother, and she had to get in the car crying and crying and crying. And later I spoke to her father and said, oh, she was crying a lot. And she said, Father told me she cried every day for the next year. This is such strong family love, which has to prepare one for life, this type of love is required. So in any case, to ease the difficulties that Devaki might be experiencing, her older brother, whose name was Kamsa, was driving the chariot. Now Kamsa, it's actually a long story from the Garga Samhita. He wasn't actually her brother. He was the son of her mother by a Rakshasa. It's a very complicated story, but he wasn't actually a Kshatriya, he was a Rakshasa. He was demonic in temperament, demonic of nature. And as they were going along on the chariot with Kamsa, due to his affection for his sister driving the chariot, there were hundreds of golden chariots surrounding them because this was the opulence. And the father of Devaki, whose name was Devaka, he had given 400 elephants. Now, nowadays, that's not very practical. Could you imagine having 400 elephants in your house also, and having to feed them every day, etc., etc., etc. And 1,800 chariots, and 200 maidservants as well. And while all this great festival was going on, the conch shells were blowing, the drums were, yes, bugles. Did you bring your bugle? No, okay. And conch shells. And suddenly, while this festive occasion was occurring, there was asarira vak, which means an unembodied voice. A voice just came from the sky. And I will say what the Sanskrit is. The Sanskrit, because he spoke in Sanskrit. Asya tvam astamo garbo. That you don't know. Hantayam vahase abuddha. Abuddha means you are such a fool that you don't know, O Kamsa. You are such a fool and you're driving this chariot. Astamo tvam. Astama garba. The eighth garba. Now this word is very significant. Sometimes we say the eighth son of Devaki, but actually garba doesn't mean son. Garba means embryo, loosely translated as child. Neither boy or girl is mentioned. You don't know, Kamsa, you Abuddha, you fool. You don't know that the eighth garba, the eighth child of your sister, you are driving the chariot of so joyously, she is going to be the cause of your death. That child is going to be the cause of your death. That child will kill you. Now, this, on this festive occasion, was obviously shocking to everyone, but everyone heard it. It was like time stood still for a moment as everyone listened to this prophetic Asharidavak voice from the sky. Now, Kamsa, even though he was acting as the loving brother of his sister, and even though he and everyone else was in a joyous mood, when a threat came to him, his actual nature was revealed. Immediately, without a moment's hesitation, on those auspicious occasion, he grabbed his sister with his left hand by the hair, and with his right hand, he drew his sword and was ready to kill her. And Vasudeva, the newly married husband of Devaki, he thought, I must stop this. And Kamsa was unlimitedly powerful, not unlimitedly powerful, but extremely powerful. And he began to speak to him. First, he began to flatter him. He wanted to pacify him, make his mind peaceful, cool him down. And he said, "Oh, Kamsa, you are the pride of your family. You are my brother-in-law. And even great heroes praise you. But yet, do I see correctly? You are about to kill a woman who is your sister? At the auspicious moment of her marriage?" But Kamsa was not touched by this. Because the essential nature of someone who is demonic, asuric, is extreme selfishness. And a devotee, and keep this in mind, all us aspiring devotees, it's the opposite. Selfless, giving. Giving, unselfish, serving Krishna. One time I heard Srila Prabhupada say that a Vaishnava is respectful to every living entity, even an ant, even an insignificant ant that we don't think twice about. Respectful to every living entity, trying to serve every living entity. This is actually the mood of a Vaishnava. Jivera Surupoi, Krishnera Nityadas. But Kamsa, having a demonic disposition, was selfish regardless of how it appeared. So Vasudeva tried another tactic, and he began to explain to him something philosophically. Now, there were quite a few verses that he explained to him, but I will just say it very, very, very briefly, and you'll understand what he wanted to tell him and what the ramifications, what the result of him accepting this philosophy would be, will be clear. He said, we are eternal. We receive a new body according to how we live our life, the reactions of that, our karma. It is just like the moving of a worm, a grass worm, from one leaf to another. When it's time to move from one leaf, he puts part of his body on that leaf, and then he moves upward. And similarly, when our consciousness is on our new body, when we're developing a new mood of what we're going to be, then at some point we drop this old body and we place ourselves firmly in a new body. And it is based on our desires and how we act. Desiring is so important. And that's why, my dear devotees, it is very important what we fill our consciousness with and what we fill the consciousness of our children with. All the advertising for rubbish, for things that are detrimental to our consciousness, to our present, to our future, they fill our consciousness continuously. From the televisions to the internet to it's unavoidable, practically speaking, unless we are very, very 100% sincere. Our mind at death, he explains, Vasudeva tells Kamsa, will determine our next body. And that next body, adishtam, manastam, vishopasevate, it will be determined by what our flickering minds fix on. How important is it to learn how to fix our minds on what is truly valuable? These celebrations, this time when the curtain opens, and we'll be able to look at the wonderful form of Nitai Sachinandana and Radha and Krishna and hear the holy names of Krishna and learn to absorb our minds in this. It is so important. We think when we send our children to school, we think we are educating them and protecting them for their own future, and it is true. But what type of education is most important for their future? We think of their future only up to the time where they get a job, but how about their future life and next life? We are eternal, but our mind flickers to one foolish thing after another. He's telling Kamsa this, and that is going to determine your next birth. So why then fill your consciousness with such fear? Why fill your consciousness with such enmity towards your sister, who you should naturally be affectionate to? Why act impiously, which will determine the horrible future for you and fill your mind with horrible visions and cause you to take a terrible, impious, suffering next birth? He spoke to him philosophically. He pointed his finger indirectly. He couldn't directly say, no, don't do this, because Kamsa was so powerful. And then he said, remember Markandeya Rishi. How many of you know the pastime of Markandeya Rishi, who was in the 12th canto of the Bhagavatam, who was destined to die at 16, but death could not touch him due to his devotion and piety. He said, remember him. Remember Markandeya Rishi. And then he said something quite different. He said, there's a prediction that your death is inevitable. Like all of us, actually speaking. And perhaps the best thing you can do is guarantee a good future for yourself. You cannot stop death. And your sister is like your daughter. She is your younger sister, and she deserves your affection. But Kamsa was a demon, and he could not be pacified by philosophy. He could not be pacified by good instruction. He did not fear committing sinful activities. And he was holding the sword to Devaki's throat. And Vasudeva thought, I think I need another plan to deal with this person. Let me save the present. Let me save the situation at the present, and the future, it acts like fire. Fire sometimes jumps over one house and burns up the next house, or one branch and jumps to another tree. It is unpredictable. And fate is like that too, Vasudeva thought. So, let me save the present, and who knows what will happen in the future. So he told Kamsa in a very, very practical way, you have nothing to fear from Devaki, because that prophetic voice predicted that her 8th child will kill you. She will not cause you any harm. So I promise you. And Vasudeva was known to always keep his word. And this is another important lesson, that when we always keep our word, we become known for always keeping our word, and then people will trust us. And if we are known for always breaking our word, conversely, people will know that, and no one will trust us. Important point. So Vasudeva was known for always keeping his word. So when he told that to Kamsa, that I will deliver to you, to your hand, each of her children. I will first give them to you, and you can do with them as you so desire. You have nothing to fear from Devaki. And Kamsa trusted Vasudeva because he was known to always keep his word. He was dutiful. He was honest. So Kamsa's fearful mind became pacified, and he agreed. And Vasudeva, I don't know there's a Hindi word for it. But when you coat your tongue with honey, yes, but anyway, in Vaishnava circles, his tongue is coated with honey. So when talking to a person like Kamsa, sometimes you have to coat your tongue with honey. And he did that, and Kamsa peacefully went home. And soon after, months after, Devaki gave birth to her first child. Oh, let us take a moment and look at their beautiful forms. Let our mind be filled with the beauty of Krishna in his different forms. Let our minds become attracted to Krishna instead of to the rubbish of this world, which ultimately comes into our hand and disappears. Let our minds and hearts become attached to Krishna. Confirmed by all the sneezing and coughing. Very good, thank you. That is a prayer. May I remember you. May I be attached to you. May I serve you. So after some months, Kirtiman, the first child of Devaki and Vasudeva, was born. And although it was very difficult, Vasudeva dutifully brought that child to Kamsa and said, "He is yours now." And Kamsa was so impressed. Demonic as he was so impressed that he said, No, you please take him. You please take this child, because that voice, that Akashvani, that Akash Asarira Vak, had said that it is the 8th child, Astamagarbha. And this is just the first. I have nothing to fear from him. Please, you take him home. You take him. I trust you. And Vasudeva said some very sweet honey-coated words. And then he left. But he knew that Kamsa, in fact, could not be trusted. Manaraten asato davato bahi. Because when one is on the mental platform and selfish, then one moment one is thinking one thing, and then the next moment the mind can change and flip completely, because there is no steadiness, because it's based on selfishness. When the circumstances change, then what we do will change, what we desire will change, because I am in the center. But when one is fixed in the service to Krishna, actually a devotee, actually fixed, non-selfish, which we aspire for. It is the secure platform in this world. And such a person, Vyavya Satmika Buddhi Ekeha Kurunandana. Such a person, focused in that way, no matter what is going on in the world, he can be steady, he can be undisturbed. He or she can be undisturbed. This is the only platform of peace in this world. This is the only platform where one can actually be peaceful in this ever-changing, ever-shifting material world. Instead of Manodharma, we need Bhagavad Dharma. So Vasudeva knew that Kamsa could not be trusted, but yet he left with his son. And then something quite amazing happened. There is one most exalted devotee named Narada Muni. He decided, I should push this Leela along. What I should do is increase Kamsa's sinful activities, because when one increases one's sinful activities, one's doom becomes closer. And the doom of Kamsa was going to be based on Krishna's appearance. Narada Muni, very eager to have Krishna's appearance occur. Naturally, he was eager for that. He decided to give Kamsa some news. So he appeared, and this is going to happen a second time in this pastime too, when Narada Muni wants to speed it up further. He told Kamsa, he appeared, and Kamsa was respectful. He thought Narada Muni was his friend, and Narada Muni is the friend of everyone. He thought Narada Muni was the friend because he's speaking truthfully always to me. And he said, do you know that in your previous life, you were Kalanemi, an asura, a demon, who was killed by Lord Vishnu. This is described in the 25th chapter of the 8th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. You were Kalanemi, and in that life also, you were killed by Vishnu. And all the demonic forces that you have gathered including yourself, are going to be killed by Vishnu. Bye-bye. Radhikaraman. And he left again. And Kamsa took everything that Narada Muni said seriously, and he began to think that the Yadu dynasty, they must be the demigods. And they're gathering to kill me. And I will persecute them. Because this is the demonic mentality. When I don't want something to happen, even if it's inevitable, I will fight to the end against fate. Instead of being happy with what I have and seeing Krishna's mercy in circumstances, there is this, I am all, Ishwaraham Maham Bhogi, Siddhaham Balavan Sukhi. The demonic nature is to always want to reign supreme. So he immediately started persecuting the Yadu dynasty, and he immediately called for Vasudeva again, and he immediately killed that child that he had freed. And each and every time, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, that Devaki, year after year, gave birth to a child, Kamsa mercilessly took that child, thinking that any of them could be his enemy Vishnu, and killed that child. And then, being knowing some Rajniti, some politics, he made allies with so many other demons. Demons like Pralamba, Baka, Chanora, Aghasura, Mastika, Aristasura, Putana, Vidvid, Keshi. And if Mastika is there, who else is there? Chanora, Banasura, Bhomasura. He made allegiances with them, and he immediately put his own father, Ugrasena, in prison. He was the original Aurangzeb. And he persecuted the Yadu dynasty one after another, so much they had to flee Mathura. Some of them stayed because they acted as if they were Kamsa's trusted friends, like Akrura did, which comes out later. But they actually were staying to witness the fact that Krishna himself was going to take his birth. And they wanted to see his incredible pastimes take place. So after 6 sons of Vasudeva and Devaki were killed, then Balaram, Krishna's expansion, took his birth, or not took his birth, but manifest within the womb of Devaki. And Krishna then called for who had not yet appeared. And there's a wonderful explanation of these 6 sons that were killed by Kamsa. They actually, there's a past meaning to why they were killed. They were actually cursed by Hiranyakashipu that you will be killed by your own father, by your own uncle. And another reason was that they represent what has to be removed from our hearts before Krishna will actually take up residence there. Kam, Krodh, Lobh, Moha, Mada, Matsarya, and I missed one, Bhaya, fear. These all have to be removed from the heart before the 7th item, Balaram, who is the Sandhini potency of Krishna, the Dham, the holy. When our heart actually becomes holy, that has to occur. And then, not only when the impurities are removed, but when the heart actually becomes a suitable place for Krishna, then Krishna can come. Yogamaya, Krishna called his potency of Yogamaya, his pastime potency, and asked his pastime potency to move Balaram from the womb of Devaki to the womb of Rohini. And Yogamaya thought, I don't have the potency to do this. And Krishna replied, by my power you can do it. And this is how one can actually serve Krishna. Actually, all service to Krishna takes place by Krishna's mercy. This is one thing that I've really seen in life. That when you have an opportunity to do some service, don't take it lightly. Don't take it for granted. Take service to Krishna as the greatest fortune that can befall you, and hold on to it and perform it, knowing that it is actually Krishna's mercy that you have an opportunity to serve. This is a great form of Krishna's mercy. Another great form is association with devotees. Don't take these things for granted. So, when Balaram was transferred into the womb of Rohini, who was hiding with the other members of the Yadu dynasty in different places, she was in Vrindavan, in Nanda Gokul. Everyone thought that Devaki had had a miscarriage. And then Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna Stu Bhagavan Swayam, he entered the mind or the heart of Vasudeva. And Vasudeva became fully effulgent. And then from the heart of Vasudeva, Krishna was transferred into the heart of Devaki. And she became fully effulgent and beautiful. One is beautified by Krishna's presence in our lives. One becomes effulgent, actually, and beautiful. And everyone noticed this incredible, unlimited beauty that Devaki was carrying, and Kamsa himself also noticed it. And he thought, I know the cause of this. Vishnu is now within her. Should I kill him now? Should I kill her? If I kill her, how does a demon think? When I do this, what will I gain? What will I lose? How does this Yes, selfishness is a terrible quality. Everyone in this world appreciates selflessness. And when someone is extremely selfish, no one appreciates them, because there is no limit, there is no stopping with what they can do. Nefarious, improper activities that they can do. So it's important to remove the selfishness from our heart. But you can't remove selfishness from your heart by saying, from now on, I'm not going to be selfish anymore, because that will be just another selfish desire. But rather by, just like how do we remove darkness? You don't get a darkness net and pull it out and push it out, or a darkness broom. No. How do we remove darkness? Yes, we bring light in. We just flip the switch and turn on the light, and darkness instantaneously disappears. Darkness is a dependent entity on the absence of light. So similarly, selfishness is automatically removed when our heart is illuminated, enlightened with serving Krishna, with bhakti, with devotional service to Krishna. So Kamsa, being selfish, thought, I should not kill Devaki. Not because this is not a proper thing to do, I shouldn't do it, I should do the right thing, but because if I do it, people will accuse me of being a terrible person, I will lose my reputation, and when I commit a sinful activity like that, my life will be shortened, my opulence will be shortened. It was all selfish. But yet, he came to the right conclusion, but he thought improperly that after the child is born, I will spare Devaki now, but after the child is born, I will kill him, just like I've killed all his other brothers. But from that moment on, the fear in Kamsa's mind just increased and increased and increased. And from that moment on, he thought of Krishna unceasingly, but in a pratikul, negative way, fearful of Krishna. And this is described in the 7th canto, 1st chapter, that actually what we are afraid of, what we are angry at, that stays in our mind more consistently than what we like. What we fear, we cannot get rid of from our mind. What we like and even love comes and goes, but what we're afraid of intensely stays in our mind. So Kamsa was Anukulena Krishna, but Pratikulena Krishna. He was always thinking about Krishna, but as my enemy, and soon I will kill him. So when that happened, all the devatas, the demigods, knowing that Krishna was in the womb of effulgent, pure Devaki, they approached Krishna. They approached her in her Brahma, Shiva, Vishnu, not Vishnu, but Brahma, Shiva, Chandra, and Vyasadev, so many sages also, Devala. They came to the prison house, and unseen by anyone, they began to offer prayers. Now this is in the 2nd chapter of the 10th canto, and the chapter is entitled Garbhastuti, which means that they were offering prayers to the embryo within the womb, fully potent. They knew that Krishna was there even in an embryonic form, but still he was always the Supreme Lord. Not that someone can become the Supreme Lord or can forget he's the Supreme Lord. He can forget he's Krishna and then remember he's Krishna. No, Krishna at every stage of his existence is always the all-powerful Sadaishwarya Purnam Supreme Personality of Godhead. All-powerful, all-knowing Sarvagya, always, even when he's within the womb of Devaki. And they began to offer their prayers. And in essence, there are quite a few prayers, and I will just say them in essence. That although that the whole universe, and please try to consider this, all you intelligent souls, that the whole universe comes from the Supreme Lord. It is, the atheistical scientists say that the universe comes from nothing. There are even books that contemporary atheistical scientists say that everything comes from nothing. But it is not possible for anything to come from nothing. Because if something has if nothing had the potency or the property to create something, then it would no longer be nothing. So even when you talk on the quantum physics level, when they talk about quantum fluctuations, do they teach you about quantum fluctuations in school? Okay. But even when they talk about quantum vacuums and quantum fluctuations, defining that as nothing, but still these subatomic particles that come in and out of existence, according to the way they describe it, is also something. And they call that something nothing, and then they say that something else comes from nothing, which is not true. Because you know what comes from nothing? Nothing. And sometimes we say, if something came from nothing, why don't we see bicycles popping into existence, or universes popping into existence, or monkeys popping into existence from nothing? No, from nothing, nothing comes. And there's no, actually, even scientifically speaking, there is no such thing as nothing. Nothing doesn't even exist. There's no such thing as nothing. But in any case, the universe, the devatas pray, comes from you. And then, and this is very important, so please listen, even though you appear to enter into the universe, you are never actually of the universe or part of the universe. When Krishna plays his pastimes, he is not part of material existence, even though it may appear that he's part of material existence. And there was Krishna within the womb of Devaki, but not actually, Sambhavam Yapmamaya, not actually always in transcendence, always in Goloka Vrindavan. Always not in the universe. So they then explain how to achieve and understand this all-powerful, all-knowing Supreme Lord that everything comes from, who is transcendental to everything, how to know him by hearing and remembering and becoming absorbed in thoughts of him, thoughts of serving him, thoughts of his pastimes, thoughts of his names. So therefore Mahaprabhu said, Kirtaniya Sadahari. While the material world continuously demands our full attention, our full absorption, if we do that, we will be in the material world continuously and forever. But if we become absorbed in thoughts of Krishna, we are the most fortunate. So therefore, when Vaishnavas, when Mahaprabhu gave a blessing, or when Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya said something to Mahaprabhu when he wanted to give him a blessing, he said, Krishna Matirastu. May you always be absorbed in thought of Krishna. This is the greatest blessing. Even if we are working in this world, and that comes out in the prayers as well. Even if you are performing other activities, if you can somehow be absorbed in thoughts of Krishna, Mam Anusmara Yudhya Cha, you will not be in this world. You will be with Krishna. And this is the art of living. This is the art of work. So then they end their prayers by saying, you have descended to protect the world. Please, because they had requested Krishna to come, please protect us. Please protect us. Rakshamam pahimam. And if we adopt this mood, that the difficulties of life are meant to turn us to ask Krishna for protection, then we have really learned the lessons of this world, and we no longer have to be in this world anymore. always turn to Krishna for protection. Whether you are happy, sad, sukhi dukhi bolo nako vadane harinam korore. Turn to Krishna. Turn to Krishna always. Turn to Krishna always. This is the great lesson of life. Turn to Krishna always. And to do that, it takes bhakti. Develop bhakti and turn to Krishna always and be protected to Krishna, by Krishna. So therefore, the demigods end their prayers by saying, our obeisances to you. So I officially completed about half of what I was going to, the pastime. But it's a good place to end if we are ready to move on, because everything is run exactly on time, always. So we will also end here. Thank you very much. Please remember Krishna always. Chant Hare, as Prabhupada told me, please chant Hare Krishna and be happy. So I pass that on to you. Please, all of you, always chant Hare Krishna and be happy.